one of the things that happened for me, pretty enough, when we saw the thing, I knew it was England. And fortunately, when I looked, I saw a train in there and this thing, and I knew it was Ipswich because that's when we had done a lot of our preliminary flying around, what we call decode missions. You fly up before and take it, and you come back down. So that we are used before you get missions to come up and get the fighters to know that let Germany pick them up, that you're high enough that they can pick you up, so they don't know how to disperse their fighters because they don't know where we're going to penetrate from there to go to Europe.
Okay.
And that's the purpose why you do that. But the nice thing it does that for me is that I learned a lot of things about where the railroads are, what you see, this and that and so forth.
Okay.
And when we hit that place like this, I knew it was a train coming from Ipswich, which runs, you go from Ipswich along back like you're going back to Stone on the railroad. You come awful close to our airport.
Okay.
Okay, and that was the purpose. And when I got into the thing, got to define to the thing where it was our thing, by that time I was down to about 3,000 or 4,000 feet.
Okay.
Thing when we crossed the line in. And we knew there was barrage balloons and things like that, but they were not in the area we were coming into, and we had no place, you had to have, when you were late, you had to have the numbers, color flames that you felt. If I'd have come in through Berlin, they could have shot me down. Or from Berlin into England, London, so forth, I'd have been shot down because they didn't have any verification to tell them what, shoot the right careflares of coming in late.
Okay.
Okay. I come in, and what was done to this, I wanted to be south of the thing because I knew how the runway worked at the base. And all of a sudden, I saw a portion of the building standing up, which was really a part of the house, the stone and the chimney and things, which was on the end of the one runway that I know. And that would have been done, it would have been destroyed by a previous airplane that crashed into it on takeoff.
Okay.
So I knew that's the runway I want. Okay. And my idea was I flew around from that and headed up for that landway and did the rest of the thing the same way. Everything was just kept that airplane flat and level.
Coordinated with the co-pilot for power settings.
As far as, yeah, it's just
You know,
kept,
flap settings, when to
yeah.
put the gear down, the rest
yeah,
of
I
the
told him
stuff.
I didn't want to be under 110 mile an hour. I'm fine, I'm going to land this thing because the reason for that was the airplane that we got originally was a brand new airplane that Harkin was flying when he was flying the damn thing.
Okay.
And this was not one of our airplanes. And at 90 mile an hour, that damn airplane still wouldn't stall out. But a painted one, we were in, we didn't have one, but I didn't know. So I told everybody, I said, you watch that damn, once they cleaned it off, I said, watch the other thing, that's the one thing I want to be. I want to have 110 mile an hour when I see that runway that we're going to touch down. And we're going to keep on this thing just flat, flying like that, and keep reducing the speed until I get down to 110 mile an hour.
The autopilot's still on.
And the autopilot, everything's on still, and finally when I go to touch the ground, everything gets shut off. I shut it off with
Okay.
And you landed 7
and
times.
I landed on the damn runway and stayed on the runway, no matter how time I made all the bumps. And I stayed on to the end, just about, and I tried to get the damn airplane to get it, turn it off instead of running it at the end and getting it out into the trees and so forth. That I tried to make a left turn. I wasn't smart enough to know that you had to get some power off this engine. That I could have, if I had kept the two running outside running,
Yes, sir.
thing, and
You know.
I had them all running yet.
Yeah, you
just
idle
wanna
the
have a
left
little bit more
engines
flight time.
and you keep the right engines up a little.
Yeah, and that's it. But in the meantime, I'd made 7 landings.
My father's coming over the years and
Yeah,
said,
and-
yeah, we landed 7 times, we ended up in the grass safe, and you know, they saved the day.
It's bouncing down the runway.
Yeah,
And everybody, but okay, we had, I think Ben Senior fired all the pistols for Red that we had wounded on board.
Okay, correct.
The base was completely forgotten about. There was no lights on any place, nothing on the runway, no lights, no nothing. I could see the runway, but there was no lights to tell me anything except I knew it was not where it was. When you sit in the nose, you know everything. You see, you're the only one who sees everything all the time.
Yes, sir.
You know, and so when I tried to get off of the damn thing, that's what happened. I tried to use the brake on the left leg and so forth, and pull the runway off, but I've overcome with the power that I got in there. I couldn't make the damn 90-degree turn, but I did make 45 and got off. I went off on a diagonal into the grass from instead of going down to the revetment to where the plane should go.
Okay.
And I got off the runway too. It's like this. This is the revetment where the plane. I was
Okay.
in between, and when I hit the grass, I just shut everything off. And we drifted out there so far, and the ambulance comes to us. He's the only thing that showed up, and they come there unfortunately, I jumped out, and they got running. They grabbed hold of me and tried to throw me on a down.
He was covered with blood.
Got blood.
Okay,
It
good.
was dark enough.
Yeah.
They thought that I was wounded and so forth. And I tried to finally tell them, no, you had to go up through the hole that's out in front there. The two guys that are really bad were up in there, and so they got them out and so forth like that, and brought them down. I brought the two, and I says, what are we going to do? And about that, another ambulance showed up too, and I says, I'll take one of them, you take me and the other two guys to the nearest hospital. Okay, which they did. The guys went back in the other ambulance that showed up. I don't know where the hell they came from, and they went back to the interrogation room, which normally where we get involved into things like. There was nobody in the place.
The strike had completed, you know,
The
2 and
place
3
was
hours
closed up.
previous.
There was
Yeah,
nothing.
so they're gone.
But all the booze and stuff was still there, so they had a few drinks and went back to the bar. Because they were at base, so they went back to the barracks.
Okay.
Yeah, and they had nobody else to say anything. They had nobody, no officers, no.
So they got no debriefing at all.
No briefing, but there was nobody there to even do
Okay.
it. In fact, I actually I got to the colonel later, about almost a week, didn't even know what was on that. He was even on the damn
This
place.
is Colonel Cox.
Yeah,
Was it Colonel Cox still at that time?
David.
Oh, Dave. Okay.
That
Colonel
was,
Dave.
and it was just a time.
Okay. So you went with the pilot and co-pilot, the seriously injured ones. You got an ambulance. You went to what hospital did you go to?
I have no idea if it's a military hospital, so I can't.
Okay. You don't know what town it was in or anything?
Well, it's right. Well, I assume that the ambulance from our place, so they take them to the hospital. We take all our wounded too. I don't know where we're going.
Okay. But it was outside of Nettishaw.
Yeah, it's not in Nettishaw. It was
Okay.
close. It was,
Right. And so how long were you there? You were just there kind of watching over him, being a pseudo nurse?
That day, I stayed overnight with them the first day.
Okay.
And I came back. I got back to the station, and I came in, and our.
About what time did you get back to the station? This is just the next day, right?
The next day, late in the afternoon, probably.
Okay.
Okay, but
In the meantime, you hadn't called back or anything to tell
nobody,
them?
no, nothing. And the only thing that when I got in there, they had me listed as missing in action. Everything I had was gone.
Okay. You get to your
They thought
bedroom and
they thought
everything's already
we
been
thought-
packed up.
They thought that we had been shot down.
Okay.
And which was that what to see, we were all missing in action.
Okay.
And I ended up I get some of my blankets back. I got my stuff, they were all packing it up, that was sent home to my family, you know, things like that. It was all ready to go.
Well, they don't waste any time on that, do they?
I'll tell you what, in England, the all the things had forbade with biscuit mattresses on the couch. And biscuit mattresses is about 3 foot square. And when it separates the whole area, if you're living, this was a stable that was converted to a barracks for us.
Okay.
And it gets hot. So every time there was airplanes went down, and people in your place, the blankets that they had would go to the ones that are there until finally. I had 17 blankets to give you an idea in 4 missions
Okay.
to find what had happened. But they were gone when I got there this time. Yeah, it's one of those things there, and that
Okay.
was it. And then they found out that and then finally when Hadley came back, and him and I and a fellow named Barnes got together and realized what was the, and so Barnes lost all the people or something like that. Ben's dad had gone with him for a couple missions, and then they broke up, and he went with I think Ben got transferred to a company.
Tracy Breed.
Reed. Was it Reed? Okay, it was Reed. And they made a
Breed.
view, so that left Barnes and so forth, and Hadley and I with nobody, so we didn't have a crew.
Okay.
So we made another one up, and that's how we started out.
Okay.
This might be helpful, and actually you had a copy of this that I put
Yeah.
together in 2011 after talking to you the first time, and it's a detailed rundown of the entire mission with the crew members and all of that.
Okay.
There's crew neighbors in there. Now, Ben's name is not in there, see?
Actually it is.
Oh, you put in there?
Yeah,
Yeah, Ben Forrest, you have him listed as the ball turn.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you just have Forrest.
Duffy, if there's one in there, Duffy or Buffy or something like that,
The original guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
is it in there? The
In-
picture, or maybe you don't have the picture, I guess, that you have you're doing it on a different deal, yeah, okay.
Yeah. I think, you know, one of the interesting parts of this whole thing, we're talking about it today, during the day, what Chuck did was unprecedented. You know, certainly the expertise of navigating his way out of where he was and getting out of that is really cool. But getting the airplane back to the base that he took off, there's hundreds of bases in England.
Yes, sir.
And then landing on autopilot, which has never been done, and wasn't done since, and surviving, he saved the crew.
Absolutely.
Over and out.
And the airplane.
No question
too.
about
I mean,
it. There's a, you know, I've got a pretty extensive aviation background, like 42 years of flying and, you know, lots of fighter hours and tons
Yes,
of
sir.
commercial hours, 36 years. And I have never, in my entire career, heard of anything as challenging as this, as determined as this. And he said it himself, he was determined to get that airplane back to England.
Correct.
And
Well,
he did.
that method that you use, they don't train pilots that at all. I'm not even sure they train navigators that.
Well,
they don't.
They don't, and it's all about math. Now, the Navy actually does something very similar to that. So when he told me the story, I got it, because they train us how to do that kind of thing
Okay.
by just using a compass and some stations and cross-hatching and then making turns and finally figuring out what your ground speed is, what the true course is, and all that. That's what he was talking about.
Yes.
It just took a
Yeah,
lot of turns to do it.
What happened, and I don't know if I'm gonna bring this up or not, about some of the officers from Utah came down to here to talk to me about how I did this, and then they invited us up to Utah, so I could meet with all the colonels and see to learn what was going. And
Okay.
and tell them what I did and so forth with that. No, this is off the record as far as I'm concerned, because these guys, and you can talk to them to find out. I don't know if you can talk to the guy he's now down at in Washington D.C. now. It was up and took Scott's.
Hill Air Force Base?
He took Scott's place in Hill.
Oh,
Hill.
okay, yeah.
And what it was is that these colonels, we went to the thing and stuff like that, and so they understand, we were there about 3 or 4 days telling them what was going, and they didn't understand the damn thing I was saying to them. And he came over, the guy, and he said to me, he said, "How's things going, Chuck?" And I says, "I'll tell you what, they don't understand me one bit," and I says, "They never will." And the guys, every damn one of the colonels says, "He's so damn right, and he's right, we don't understand the damn thing he did."
Right.
Because they don't do. I said, he says, "What's the reason?" I says, "Did you ever try to do what I did in 2 minutes, one way each other, and you're flying something that's gonna at 140 or 50 mile an hour, and you're flying up close to 2,000 or something like that. And in 2 minutes, where in the hell you are? You're 100 and some miles away from where I
That's
would be. You're never gonna get the answers you go, and you can't get them. You know,
You're going too
and
fast.
on top of that, I said, "You got buttons instead of doing it manually." I said, "You can push. If it don't work, you go to the next one." And he says, "You better life. You ought to have big muscles." I said, "I use my feet on the goddamn. Put my feet up when there's 2 things." And it was kind of interesting, but we had a lot of fun. And
No
then-
one trained to what you did. You figured that out.
Yeah.
You know,
There's
there's parts of it you people trained to.
I'll tell you what, if I hadn't gone to that navigation school for England,
Yes,
and
sir.
learned all these other stuff, which is not part of navigation, don't misunderstand me, and had that information from myself to know, it fed into my thing, because I also got, by going to our own library, train numbers of which way trains went. So who were to get to the Pyrenees Mountains if I got bailed out, but that thing get picked up by the Germans or by our own people. So I was serious.
You were
but
ready.
I wouldn't knew where I had shoes that the extra were tied. I knew where I was going,
Okay.
and I didn't know I was going to have to take 10 guys with me, or 9 guys with myself. And that was what happened. It sounds funny. That's why I don't want to misunderstand what I'm saying. But